What's up, co-reporters, and welcome back to my channel. It's time for another recap of the Ultimatum. And in episode 5, you guys, Roxanne and Alex have already turned against each other. And let me just say, not at all surprising. The only thing that these two had in common that they kept talking about was that they had jobs, that they worked, right? Roxanne, if you haven't heard, she owns a business. And then Alex claims that he had a marketing business. I don't remember what he does now or whatever, but like I guess he works long hours, which I guess is some kind of, badge of honor or something to some people. Though to me it sounds like the ultimate L personally, but I digress. We'll get into that later, but at the top of the episode, the two of them go to meet her parents after having met his parents in episode 4. And yeah, so one thing that Roxanne's parents ask him is how his parents felt about Roxanne. And he kind of seems like a little bit, first of all, like, oh, taken aback by the question. He was not expecting that. And he claims that they liked her. But to be honest, I was not exactly convinced to. I don't understand what they could have really liked about her for him. She just was talking about work the entire time and then talking down about her man, talking about Alex's woman. Like she just didn't seem like a positive, happy person. So I personally wouldn't have loved meeting her. And I don't think that his parents did either. I believe her mom is Persian, by the way, because they were doing like cheers with Alex, like in episode 2 or 3 or 4. And he said L'chaim or something like that. And then she said, some other word, and she said that that was Persian. And then like looking at her mom, she looks like she could be Persian, and then she's got the accent. I love Persian accents. I think they're so cute. So voila. Anyway, Alex starts to talk about why he personally likes Roxanne, and then he claims that she is one of very few women who can challenge him, pretty much the only woman who can challenge him. And then her dad disagrees. Her dad's like, I'm sure there are many strong women in the world who can challenge you. And that's what I don't really understand on the topic of challenging. What does challenging mean to Alex? Is it like disagreeing or something? I don't understand why he looks to be challenged so badly, right? Because it sounds like a high conflict sort of a personality trait. And as someone who's very low conflict, instant turn off. Absolutely freaking not. And at this point, I noticed that her dad was actually writing down notes at the table about everything that Alex was saying. And I'm like, damn, like he is really serious about this process, which is quite endearing. Then we get Ryan and Trey. Like there's no meeting of the parents going on in this situation, but they did go ahead and meet each other's friends. And Ryan's friends, like, they talked about how waiting 7 years is way too long to get engaged and whatnot. And then they say that James doesn't appreciate her enough or prioritize her in his life and everything. And they say so many like nice, thoughtful, and uplifting things about Ryan and everything. And like I left that situation feeling like Ryan has really nice, genuine, very, very genuine friends, and she should consider herself lucky for that, right? Like, I just love the way that they hyped her up in that conversation with Trey. Oh, Lord. Then at this point, all of the guys, they meet up together in some sort of like cigar bar sort of a vibe situation to talk about how they are handling everything just before they go back and switch couples to get with their original pairs. And, they talk about how they feel like they've been changing throughout this process. And Trey talks about how Ryan's friend said something about how she is more open than ever with him. And then James talks about the physical affection issues going on between he and Raya. He's like, she wants so much in that respect, and I'm just not willing to or wanting to give that to her. And so it's been causing a lot of issues for her. Then we get the girls meeting up for their own version of the same conversation, but for them, it was at a sushi bar. And then they're like, oh, like who's cleaner? Like between the guys or something like that, like, your original guy or the new guy that you're with or whatnot. And then Kat lets it out of the bag that Antonio is a total conspiracy theorist, which doesn't surprise me, to be honest with you. Like, apparently he really likes watching those videos on YouTube and he believes like everything he watches. I'm like, it makes sense. Antonio, I'm sorry, dude, but you're a little bit derpy in my opinion. So I get it, right? And by derpy, I mean like ditzy. So then we get to Roxanne. And up until now, Roxanne was talking so much damn trash about her man, Antonio, right? Like, you would have thought that she quite literally hated that man, that he was scum. at the bottom of her shoe. And then when she would talk about her coworker Alex, it sounded like this guy was the second coming of Christ. He was everything she had been looking for. She never thought she could be interested in marriage until she met this man. But now all of a sudden, when she's seated to the side, she starts talking about him being like shady and whatnot. But sorry, you guys, I did get a little bit too far ahead of myself. Before she turns on Antonio and starts talking crap about him, she, in front of all the girls at the table, announces something that really disgusted me. I felt like she was a very disrespectful and mean girl when she did this. And what she said was that she was open to having X with Alex and that she knows that he would be open to banging her too. And I was like, well, why would you say that in front of his girlfriend, Kat? Like, that is just so mean. And in front of everybody, like, it's disrespectful to your partner, Antonio. It's disrespectful to Kat. It's disrespectful to Alex. And it's disrespectful to yourself. She tries so hard, you guys, to be like this cool, badass girl. And it just doesn't like translate for me. Like, it doesn't land. Like, I find her to be just so like, try hard, right? But anyway, Alex is on the other hand talking to the guys, talking about how Roxanne is great and everything. She's exciting, but really tiring, which doesn't surprise me. Antonio then admits to the guys that he is one of the most selfish guys out there, but it's not because he's like a mean person or anything like that, but just because he doesn't think, right? Like he doesn't think ahead or anything like that. AKA he's not smart. You know, someone said this on the Ultimatum Reddit page and it really stuck with me because it was 100% right. Someone said that Antonio is the human equivalent to Ken from the Barbie movie. And I'm sorry, but it's so true. They're like right down to him. And this is a spoiler alert for upcoming episodes recaps. Right down to him, like running over to Roxanne's house, an apartment, to talk to her and everything. Like, I guess he couldn't like get an Uber or something like that because he's not really working like that or something. Like, he is just so living in his own world. And it's just quite fascinating, to be honest with you. And so Alex, he's then talking a little bit more about his relationship with Roxanne. And again, it's just about how they work next to each other and this and like work that. I'm like, guys, like, please give it up. Do you have personalities outside of like being like a corporate slave? I mean, seriously, is there not more to life than that? Like, what are you trying to prove to people? I don't get it. Oh, anyway, then we get to Raya and James. We haven't talked about them for a minute. So Raya says that she can't see herself with James outside of this experiment because of the lack of physical affection. Then she asks Ryan why James hasn't proposed to her after 7 years of dating. But again, they got together in high school. So let me pull out my calculator here. So if you're in high school, so to me, high school is from the 9th grade. So 9th grade, 10th grade, 11th grade, 12th grade, right? So at 12th grade, you're what, 17, 18 years old? Let me take this down so it focuses again. So you're like 17, 18 years old. That's already 4 years down. And then first year uni, second year uni, third year uni, you're not even done uni. You're like 20 years old. So why is it so stunning to people and confusing that people who met at like the age of like what, 14, 15 are still not married 7 years later when they're only like what, 20 years old or something like that, 19 years old? Like, can we please put our thinking caps on people? It's ridiculous to me the way people act. Like, these are people who met in their 30s and started dating for 20, for 7 years, or at 25 and started dating for 7 years. These are people who met at like 14 years old. That is why he hasn't proposed yet. The man doesn't even have a job yet, right? He's just finishing school and he's still continuing with his studies. Like, that's why. I don't know what Ryan does in her life or whatever, but like she too, she's like a young girl. Like, come on. I understand why she wants it now, but like, it makes sense why he didn't propose like at year 6 or year 5 or year 4 or year 3. Like, it makes sense, guys. Anyway, Ryan then asks Ryan if she could see herself with Trey outside of this experiment, because remember, Raya is already suspecting Trey of having a crush on Ryan. You and I know that Trey has a crush on Ryan because he said it on camera on their romantic picnic boat date, but Raya is not aware of that. So she's asking for her own knowledge, and Ryan just skirts the question. She doesn't answer it properly, which, mind you, is the same thing she does all the time when Trey asks her about her feelings towards him as well. I don't know. I find that really fascinating. Then we get James, who tells Trey that Raya isn't in the position to get married right now. And I'm going to be honest with you, I do agree. Raya, again, very, very beautiful. Sorry, I don't know why these people's photos up. Um, Raya is a very beautiful, lovely girl and everything, but she just doesn't seem like emotionally or mentally like there yet, which is fine. Like she shouldn't be anyway at her age. Like she should just be vibing, living life, doing whatever it is that she wants to do. And so that was a nice like thing to kind of say without like being too aggressive with it or like just like starting crap between the couple or anything like that. Sorry, I was just taking a sip of water there. Then Trey asked James the same thing. Why haven't you proposed to Ryan at this point? And James says that he hasn't proposed to Raya because he still needs to feel like he can open up to Ryan about like his dark past. And I'm like, I wonder what was going on in his past. Because when it comes to Alex and his past, he said that he was doing terrible things, right? But like he was a terrible person. But James doesn't have that same kind of vibe. It sounds like the terrible things were happening to him. And yeah, it makes me sad that he feels like he can't open up about that to his girlfriend. Unless he was up to some bad things on his own, because he does kind of dress like the Tiki Torch boys. Do you guys remember that year? Like this would have been what, like 7 years ago or something like that, when a bunch of like racist white guys in like North or South Carolina, they got together at Home Depot, they got some of those Tiki Torches and went on like this racist march. He dresses like those guys, and I feel like he does his hair like those guys. So I'm like, is that the confession that you were a Tiki Torcher? I don't know. So now let's get into Roxanne turning on Alex. So this is where I got ahead of myself earlier, but now we're actually at that moment. So she goes aside with Kat to talk about like their men and everything. And she's like, you know what? Like there's something wrong with Alex. Okay. Like, first of all, he's so thoughtless. Like he doesn't like tell me I'm beautiful. He doesn't like hype me up, say anything nice. Then he lies. Like he told my parents when they asked, my dad was like, do you open car doors and all this stuff? And he claimed that he did, but it's not true. He's never opened a single damn car door for me. And he claims that he's like this hustler and he works so hard and he grinds, but he's always napping during the day. And I'm like, I told you. And you guys go back to my recap for like episode 1 or 2, whenever these two met and got together. And this man claimed that he sold his marketing company. I'm like, stop it. Like, who's buying some random man's marketing company? Like, I'm sorry, but marketing companies are a dime a dozen. Unless you're making mad money like Gary Vaynerchuk's marketing company, like, I just don't see it for you. I feel like he was just trying to like feel like competitive with Roxanne. And so he decided to just say like whatever was the first thing that came to his mind. I knew this man was a damn liar. And then she starts talking about how this guy who she had been talking crap about, just like denigrating from day one, Antonio, is so thoughtful. Like when she's coming home late, this man will set his alarm so he can be up awake to like, text her or like greet her or whatever. Like he's like, like a puppy waiting at the door or whatever. So it's just wild how she kind of like just suddenly like flipped at that point. And then she claims that she's trying to go deep and be vulnerable with Alex, but he can't do that. Like she's been like talking about insecurities and whatnot, but the most Alex will give her is that he's insecure about his unibrow. So she's like what am I doing here with him? What is the point, right? I gotta ask, if you guys know, let me know in the comments. If not, I will go check it out myself later. I'll do some Google schmoogling. Is Roxanne a Scorpio? Because she gives me Scorpio vibes, like unevolved Scorpio vibes. Like something about it is just a lot. Like there's a lot of venom there. And so on the flip side, we've got Alex talking to Antonio, and he's got a lot of venom in him. But I think Roxanne, like when I compare the two of them, to be honest with you, Roxanne is just someone who's trying to prove herself. I think she's deeply insecure, and she thinks that this girl boss persona will make her worthy of something. I don't know what that something is, but that's the vibe. It feels like une carapace, a shell for her. And then when it comes to Alex, I think he's just dark energy. I think he's just a liar. I think he's just a manipulator. I think, you know what the word is? He's a shapeshifter. Someone who's going to just always mirror whatever you are and whatever he thinks that you want. Like you can tell him you're a professional wrestler, and he'll tell you that he wrestled and he almost went pro, but then he had a shoulder injury, right? You could tell him you're a chef. He could tell you, you know what? I studied at the Le Cordon Bleu, you know, something like he will tell you that. But then I had to drop out because like my dad got sick and I had to help him. You can tell him you walk dogs for a living. He'll tell you he jogs dogs for a living. Like that is Alex. Like there's no substance there. I see an empty soul, and I just see someone who will just reflect whatever he thinks you want. And then it actually makes me go back and think about his relationship with Kat. Because remember, in my episode week 1 recap, I said I think it's fascinating how they're both into the exact same thing. In all their photos, they're just so active. They're both into the hiking together. They like to do the kayaking together. They like to do all these things together. And I'm like, huh, is that like something that Kat like brought into the relationship, and then Alex molded himself to it and he's tired, and so now he wants to mold himself into a boy boss to match with Roxanne? It really got me thinking. Okay. So anyway, he tells Antonio that Roxanne is nice to be around only in short spurts. And then Antonio asks him what his motivation is there, like if he wants to be with Roxanne outside of the experiment and everything. And Alex refuses to answer the question directly. And so he gives some kind of roundabout answer and whatnot. And Antonio's like, no, you did not answer my question. I asked you, do you want to be with Roxanne after this experiment? And at this point, Alex tells him that he kind of like he doesn't answer it again. And so I guess Antonio drops it. And so Alex, I guess like Antonio got him riled up. And he's like, you know what? Like, you are nothing but Roxanne's whipping boy, and she doesn't respect you. Like, he goes like that. And I'm like, dude, you could have softened the blow a little bit. Like, I know we all see the same thing you do, but you got to soften the blow a bit. You can't just go like that, you know, hit him like a Mack truck or whatever. And then he like recounts how Roxanne's been talking about how Antonio lacks direction and wouldn't be anywhere without her. And she's like the hero in his life and everything. And Antonio, the poor guy, thinks that Alex is lying, but this is one of the few times that man is actually telling the truth, you know, because it's true that Roxanne speaks about Antonio like he is some dirty, flea-ridden dog, like whimpering on the side of the street. But I don't know how he doesn't know that. Like, it just felt so damn obvious, right? But anyway, we'll see. Like, will he finally get a wake-up call on that? Or is it going to take for him to, like, watch this show back with the rest of us to realize, like, damn, I've been getting played. Who knows? Let me know what you think about this and anything else that went down in the episode in the comment section down below. And as usual, we'll chat. That's all for now. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.